Hello, good evening, guys. You're all welcome to NEET PG Live Daily once again. I have started, a chapter antimicrobial agents. I have taken some classes on special classes platform. That was the clinical pharmacology of the antimicrobial drugs, and that was covered in two parts. And after that, I think I covered sulfonamide. I thought of taking these fluoroquinolones on this platform, particularly YouTube, NEET PG Live Daily, so that I will keep taking these classes alternatively, or either on the special classes or on YouTube platform. So please, guys, be prepared to learn about all these antibiotics. These are important class of drugs, and a doctor from any specialty need to use these antimicrobial agent. They are bound to in fact use. Everybody will be facing this dilemma of prescribing which antibiotic which will be the most effective agent in a particular infection and all that. So for that you need to have idea about the drugs, their sensitivity profile, and not only that, the adequate duration, treatment, everything you must know. And if you want to have a better account of these information related to the antibiotic use, you simply watch those my lessons on that special classes, that is in two part. That would definitely going to help each and everyone, because that covers the main principles of using of antibiotics and all that. So with that, we move ahead. The guys, those who are attending this NEET PG Live Daily for the first time, let me tell you that I am Dr. Pramod Sharma, and I am a super specialty in clinical pharmacology. I have done my MD and DM both from PGI Chandigarh, and I am a recipient of Rashtriya Gaurav Award as well. Guys, I keep reminding you about all this Telegram app, because this is important for you guys to have this app on your phone or any smart device, let it be tablet or something like that. This app is a messenger app, just like WhatsApp, where you exchange messages between friends and all. But this app is why I'm suggesting this app, because if you join this group on this app, you will receive all the information regarding classes, the daily class schedule, and this information will be shared by either the Unacademy staff or these educators themselves, so that you will have beforehand information regarding the timetable of the class, that today evening or in the morning who is going to take what class, which topic, and whatever. Maybe you may have information about the next day or day after tomorrow also information. It depends upon how these proactive these educators are and all that. So many a time you will get a link of the lecture has been taken by a particular educator. That is also plus point, because you don't have to go anywhere. But the advantage of this group is, once you click this link and all that, this will take you directly to the Unacademy NEET PG channel on the YouTube. So these are the good things. And as you all be very busy in your studies, because the exams are very close by, so you must be having a very tight schedule in, I suppose. But it happens many a time you are waiting for some particular topic to be aired on this channel or on the special classes, so that you can watch that class and understand the nitty-gritties of that particular topic which you are not able to understand yourself. So that could be the reason for watching these sessions. Or many a time you will have a very your favorite educator, whatever class he is taking, you don't want to miss any of the class of that particular educator, because this is your choice in fact. So that also is important for you to have this app and this information, because when those guys becomes live, you can always watch them live and enjoy the lesson. With that, guys, I don't know whether you know about this Unacademy learning app or not, but I keep reminding you in all of my classes on this YouTube NEET PG. And this is an app which is specifically designed by this Unacademy, and this is for certain type of classes, like free classes in the form of special classes, and for plus as well, plus classes. So this app is important for you guys. If you are not aware of this, you just download it and install it on your system. It is available on Play Store as well as Apple Store for both kind of devices, let it be iOS run device or Android run device. And not only you download it, tell others to also do the same, because if you have this app, you can attend special classes. These special classes are also absolutely free of cost. You don't have to pay a single penny to attend these classes, but these classes will give you I suppose you will enjoy definitely, because this is one step ahead of these Unacademy and NEET PG live daily classes on YouTube, because the interface is such a such an attractive interface it has, that you will never like to miss any classes on this platform. And the special classes, the one big advantage is that you have opportunity to interact with the educator. You can throw your questions, you can raise your queries, etc. during the class, and if it is possible that because the educator is seeing all your messages and everything, and just every message you do on this platform, that is immediately visible to the educator while he's taking the class, so he can always take up those issues and queries and resolve then and there only. So this is one big advantage with the special classes, which is not there on YouTube platform, because it's not possible to see your messages and all that. Otherwise one has to sit with two devices, seeing stream on one device and taking lecture on another device. So it will definitely lead to a kind of the subject will be little or the educator will be little deviated from his attention. So that way this Unacademy learning app, this is must have kind of app. And if you have this special classes, if you once attend this special classes, I tell you, you will never like to miss those classes. And one extra advantage is also that if you follow any educator on this app, you can send him direct message. So even if you could not ask anything, suppose during the live classes, you can message that query to the educator, and he would definitely come back within a reasonable time with the solution of your queries and all that. So guys, what are you waiting for? Just download it, install it on your system, and get ready, get set, go. Fine. But there are individuals who are looking for something extra, that is what is available or free of cost at different platforms. He or she is a kind of audience who actually looking for more than what is being offered on free platforms, in the form of special services, special course material, more informative this course material, and the strategy, guidance, all this series and all that, so that he can learn more and more. And they do not want to take any chances. The crux of these looking for some extra service where they get these kind of premium features. They actually do not want to miss out on anything, or don't want to leave any stone unturned. They don't want to spend extra time for cracking this NEET examination. They want it on the first go. So they are the people who are more ambitious, and in fact they are more you can say have good strategic mind, because they know losing 6 months or 1 year would cost more than the availing any services which is even available at a cost. So this their problem is can be taken care of by simply by this NEET PG Plus program, which has been launched, keeping in mind the demand or need of such PG aspirants who are looking for premium services in the form of many features which this NEET PG Plus offers to its learners. But this is, as I said, is a paid service, but those who are really interested do not bother about all this, because everything is not available free in this world. Everywhere you need to spend to get the quality, means extra services. Quality of the classes are similar everywhere, that they just take you should not have this confusion or this thought in your mind that the quality of classes may be better in on plus or non classes. Everywhere this is the theory or principle of the Unacademy, that the quality of the classes are maintained throughout or across the platforms. But there are extra features which are available on this NEET PG Plus. That is why it is available on paid basis. The subscription for this NEET PG Plus is available for 24 months as well as 12 months. We always recommend 24 months, but suppose if you are not willing to go for 24 months, you think this is a very long period and you don't need it, you can crack the examination in the very first go. That's nothing like that. We in fact wish that you should. But there is also a 12-month program, and this is the least we expect that a person should subscribe to. 24 months is good for those who are in the final year and willing to prepare from that time only for PG examination, so that they do not want to waste even a single day in their life, and the day they complete their internship and all that, and the very first PG entrance which they face, they are actually planning to crack it, So for these individuals, this 24-month subscription is a good way of achieving their targets and goal. Because this will not only improve their performance in their university exams, but also, as I said, they will make them better ready for or prepared for the PG entrances also. This 12-month is at least needed to understand the pulse of this NEET PG Plus, because just by touching something you cannot explain everything about that particular thing. So you have to be associated at least for 1 year with this NEET PG Plus, so that you come across all the educators from different speciality and you actually learn from them. Attending one class of an educator can't give you the entire biodata of that educators. You need to watch them for sufficient time to learn from them and all that. Nobody can make you master in one day. So also the Rome was not built in a day. And moreover, these on this platform, the special courses are being launched by different educators who are experienced, learned, expert in their field, and they understand the need of the learners, and these float these special courses depending upon or based on the need of the different kind of PG entrance examination. So the different courses are being launched by these educators. So more and more courses you attend, then only you will actually find yourself in a better position that yes, now I am ready for or better ready for take up any entrance examination, postgraduate medical entrance examination. So that is why we recommend that at least 12-month subscription is necessary for you guys to effectively use this learning platform. And if you apply this my referral code Dr. Pramod, you will definitely get 10% extra discount on the subscription amount. So if you look at the subscription for 12 months, so if you apply 10% discount on that will be roughly around 20,000, and for those who are willing to join for 24 months, this will be around 25,000. So But don't forget to use this so that you get subscription for means discount for your subscription fee. And considering the value we provide on this NEET PG Plus platform in terms of making you sharpen your skills, enhancing your knowledge, making you understand the concepts of the subjects and all that, this is not a bad bargain. In fact, this is something which you should not equate it with the the period and the amount. This amount is a good negotiation for the services is being provided on this platform by the Unacademy. You can make payment using different method or mode of payment, so there is not an issue at all, which you can use as per your convenience. And let us talk about something good features of this subscription based service, that is NEET PG Plus. This live classes which you attend on the NEET PG Plus has a different environment, or you can say different feel. For example, the number of learners are always less on any paid platform. That is quite expected. So that is the reason why the educator has one-to-one contact with each and every learner. And also you have ample time to interrupt educator during the class to have your queries or any question or doubt being getting resolved during the class itself. It is actually not only you who's asking question, but if question is answered by educators, many of them who are attending will be benefited by that. Because some people are shy, they do not ask definitely, but we have answer to that as well. And moreover, you get a kind of personalized attention, and the interaction between the educator and the learner is too frequent, so that will give you a feeling of being in the real class. In fact, as if you are physically present in a class. And this real-time interaction between educator and learner is an important fundamental for any learning process, and that makes not only that learning process more efficient, but also is going to benefit you much more than any other way of learning, where you hardly able to interact with the educator. So that is must, I think. There should be a two-way communication between the learners and the educators. Other than that, we have facility of live post, leaderboard. You can poll or can give feedback about the educator, the course, anything. You have any suggestions, creative suggestions, you can always pass it on, and they are always taken seriously and can accordingly customization can be done in as per your need and all that. Leaderboard is a way to know your strength and weaknesses, and where exactly you stand among your peers. So this is also important because we also get an idea about how the group is doing and where we need to focus, and the group or particular student is having these areas where is not able to cope up with. So we can always address those issues on the individual level as well. And there are, as I was talking about this test series and analysis, there are multiple test series and analysis are there. The more you attend and do, the better more you learn. So that is how some you actually become more confident, and it helps in boosting up your confidence, so that you take up your any challenges in your life in a much better way and deal them much more efficiently. Other than that, I said that some people are shy, can't ask questions and all that during the live classes and all. So they can always we have in our system the provision for live doubt clearing session. That is, after every 3 lessons, the educator is supposed to take one doubt clearing session, in which the learner can ask about any doubt if he could not during the live classes. So this is also during the live classes, this is also live this thing, but he can send. I said we have other way of resolving issues. They can always send us a personal message and all that, so that will be taken up personally. And this live doubt clearing session, even if you come across some information or something which actually you are not able to decode or understand, you can always raise that issue during this live doubt clearing session, so that will be taken up. Though there are ample opportunities during the live classes itself, but so if you ask me, this is a one-stop solution for all your needs. So if you are on this platform, I don't think you need to roam here and there. You can achieve your goal, provided that you give your 100% and your efforts are not half-heartedly, and you are fully actually committed to achieve your goal. So this is something about this important points or features of this SOPs, this USP of this Unacademy's NEET PG Plus subscription. So this is also good in the sense that you can have all the study materials, the videos, the notes and all that, can download them any number of times. You can watch them offline. So this is also a convenience you get, which is not available at every place. So today's topic is, as I have said, I have started antimicrobial agents. So today in that series I will be discussing fluoroquinolones, and so let us start with the topic proper. Nalidixic acid was the first actually agent from this group, but this was not a fluoroquinolone. It was quinolone actually. It because they all assigned this nomenclature. This fluorinated means they have fluorine atom in their structure. That is at the 6th position. All of them have fluorine at the 6th position of this second ring. This is ring 1 and this is ring 2. So because of that they are called fluorinated fluoroquinolones, but this nalidixic acid was not fluorinated, and these are all synthetic compound. And nalidixic acid still available in India, is being used even in pediatric population as well. I think Gramoneg is the name by which it is sold in the market. And this nalidixic acid is used for GI infection and all that, also UTIs, GNI infection. Maybe to what extent I don't know, but I have seen people prescribing this Gramoneg. Earlier, when it was actually identified, this compound was synthesized, it was used for treatment of UTIs because of very high concentration was achieved in the urine and all that. So it was susceptible, means it was active against most of the susceptible bacteria that were responsible for UTI. These fluoroquinolones have broad antimicrobial activity. These are a very important class of antibiotics. If you see, they are very commonly used agent, and broad antimicrobial activity, including both gram-positive, gram-negative, and some anaerobes as well. And they are actually also effective if given orally. So most of them are very commonly used in variety of infections caused by susceptible organism. But some issues were there with many of the agents identified in this class or synthesized in this class, where they were later withdrawn from the market, as the post-marketing surveillance is a phenomenon which actually comes into play when a drug is released in the market. And then the reason being why many drugs are actually withdrawn from the market because of the safety concern, because in human clinical trial studies, clinical trials, the number of individuals that are exposed to the drug may be some thousands, maybe 5,000, maximum 10,000. So you cannot find out certain side effects which have frequency much lower actually. So those become evident when the drug is released in the market and used by masses. So many of these side effects, even which were very low frequency, that can also become evident during these post-marketing surveillance. That is why there is a provision for such activities to be carried out once drug is actually launched in the market, and this is the responsibility of the sponsor, means one who has sponsored the drug, or one who has the company who has actually is the innovator of that drug. So during these surveillance period, these many of the side effects may make their appearance, and if they are serious enough and warrant some changes in their labeling, drug labeling, or may require even more stricter restrictions, that they can be put on the most restricted this thing, or something that the worst which can happen to a drug is the withdrawal from the market. Just abandon the drug and withdraw it from the market. So these many drugs which were actually made their appearance in the therapeutics have been actually removed from the market. Many of the fluoroquinolones. In fact, if I see as a group, I think this is a particular class of drugs which has so many withdrawal from the markets and all that. For example, this lomifloxacin or sparfloxacin, they both are actually removed from the market because of the significant phototoxicity potential and their potential to increase QTC interval, that is QT time. C is corrected, QT prolongation and all that, that can lead to a kind of erythematous tortoisis, the point is. So for the risk of these things, these two drugs were withdrawn from the market. Other than that, the getifloxacin, actually getifloxacin is banned only in the systemic form. It cannot be used for any systemic infection, but topical preparation are still available in the market, and this was actually banned for systemic use because of this risk of dysglycemia. They could cause this drug could cause both hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia, especially in the elderly. So because of this risk, this getifloxacin was withdrawn. Temafloxacin was withdrawn because of the significant side effect or potential to cause immune hemolytic anemia and all that. Trovafloxacin for hepatotoxicity. One thing I should tell you, many of the drug which starts with name T, maybe I don't know for what reason, many of them are removed from the market because of the hepatotoxicity. This trovafloxacin, suppose this Tacrin used in Alzheimer's disease for hepatotoxicity, and many this troglitazone for hepatotoxicity, and many terfenadine also, that was removed for QTC prolongation. This T maybe has some unlucky, for if the name of the drug includes T, that proves unlucky for them actually many a time. Gripafloxacin for cardiotoxicity, clinafloxacin for phototoxicity. These were all the reasons for withdrawal of these many fluoroquinolones. So you can see very well that I have just named 7 of them, which are actually, and many of them are not available everywhere. They are available in some countries and not anywhere else. So if you see many of the textbooks, you will find a good account of the drugs which are actually available in US. Many of the drugs, if you read many books, you will find on the good account of information on those drugs only which are available there, because US is the biggest market for drug and all that, followed by European Union and Japan. These 3 actual geographical areas account for more than half of the revenue, more than half, even 80% revenue of the worldwide pharmaceutical market. So these drugs are classified based on the generation, the time they made their appearance, like cephalosporins. They are divided based on classified based on generations, means which came first, and accordingly they are actually spectrum of activity got improved or had added advantage, so this kind of classification is suggested for this fluoroquinolone. So we had the first agent, which was first generation agent, was nalidixic acid. As I said, this was a quinolone, not fluoroquinolone, and it had activity against about almost all the gram-negative organisms except Pseudomonas species. But this drug was really wonderful when it was actually launched during many years back. In fact, the second generation agent are further divided into two: second generation A and second generation B, and we have different drugs like ciprofloxacin is still being used very commonly in different infections like enoxacin, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin. Though norfloxacin has still use in certain conditions where most of the GI infection or UTI and not other systemic infection. You must have Norflox TZ, and that is for trinidazole or all these things for gram-negative dysentery, etc. infection, enteric infections. So these drugs all had gram-negative pathogens, activity against gram-negative, and some atypical pathogens like chlamydia pneumoniae and mycoplasma pneumoniae. These 2B class included ofloxacin and lomifloxacin. This actually included in their activity the gram-positive bacteria also, especially Staph aureus, but the activity against Streptococcus pneumoniae was not, impressive. But gram-negative pathogen, gram-positive as well as atypical organism, as I said. So they are different from 2A, that they included in their activity more gram-positive, activity against gram-positive bacteria. Third generation agent sparfloxacin abandoned, gripafloxacin is withdrawn, clinafloxacin withdrawn, gatifloxacin not used for systemic. Pfloxacin and levofloxacin. Pfloxacin is not available in every country, but it is available in India and it is very commonly used in France. And levofloxacin is just like 2B compound, that is ofloxacin. It is the levoisomers of ofloxacin. You can see the name itself, so levofloxacin, but this was actually made its appearance much later, so it is included in third generation agent. And its spectrum of activity, if you see, they all have same activity of the second generation drug, but they have expanded gram-positive coverage. They are now active against penicillin sensitive as well as penicillin S resistant streptococcus pneumoniae, which was lacking with second generation drug. They were active against staph and all, but Streptococcus pneumoniae was not in that category. And the further improvement in the activity against atypical pathogens, right? Fourth generation we have available with us moxifloxacin, gemifloxacin. Yeah, garenoxin is still not there. I think I didn't see in US and all that. Maybe it's available in some country, but torvafloxacin is already banned. So these all retain the activity of the third generation, but extra they developed activity against anaerobes. This is the good thing, that so that is the reason maybe you can say they made their appearance in a different time also, and their mechanism of this spectrum of activity is also improved with the advent of each generation of the drug, right? Let us talk about the mechanism of action of these particular group antibiotics. They are, though against the normal belief that the drug which interfere with the DNA synthesis or protein synthesis are actually bacteriostatic. It is said that they are actually bacteriostatic, but this drug is bactericidal. This class of drugs are bactericidal, despite they interfere with the DNA synthesis and all that. And they have aminoglycoside concentration dependently, that I should tell you. So they are bactericidal, and probably they all lead to digestion of DNA by activation of the enzyme exonucleases, and which has been probably signaled by that activation of damaged DNA. Because if there is damaged DNA fragment, they can induce their digestion by activating these enzymes and all that. So as I said, these fluoroquinolones, the major target is DNA synthesis. They interfere with DNA synthesis, and for that they require interference with two kind of enzymes which are called topoisomerase 2 and 4. 2 is also known as DNA gyrase. Gyration, gyration means the circular movement, gyration. So this the name itself has some meaning, this gyration. And topoisomerase means the topo topography of these DNA molecules and all that is corrected by these enzymes. That is why they are named as topoisomerases. And let us talk how exactly they do or affect this DNA synthesis. How do they interfere with the activities of these enzymes? So this type 2 isomerase, that is DNA gyrase, if it is inhibited, and that actually this DNA gyrase is important for preventing this supercoiling of positive or overwinding of the DNA during the replication process. So, and this DNA is important because if there are extra supercoiling or extra overwinding, or that is called positive supercoiling of DNA, that is actually this DNA gyrase enzyme cut certain areas of the DNA and remove this supercoiling and then again reseal it. So this action is prevented, so that will lead to enhanced positive supercoiling in the DNA, and that will interfere with the DNA synthesis and all that. Inhibition of topoisomerase 4, this enzyme is more important in after the DNA has been replicated, because cell would definitely divide ultimately, and this nuclear material will be shared equally by both the daughter cells. So this separation of the duplicated DNA is to be done by the topoisomerase 4, so that this DNA chromosomal DNA can be transferred to both respective daughter cells after division. So this activity is also inhibited, so that all lead to ultimately the cell death, bacterial cell death, because of the activation of certain enzymes and all that. We human also have topoisomerase 2 like DNA gyrase, but this is have similar activity, but is having low affinity for fluoroquinolones. So that is why they are more selectively act on bacterial population rather than on human cells. So toxicity is thus avoided in humans. See this picture. Actually, what happens when there is suppose this is the DNA molecule. So what happens to DNA replication has to happen because it is to be divided into two, so that it can be sent to two different daughter cells. So it is replicated, and then with the help of DNA polymerases, the two copies of DNAs are made for each daughter cell ultimately. So this is a prerequisite because if cell divides, not only cytoplasm will be shared, but this nuclear material should be shared equally in both the cells. So usually one enzyme is called DNA helicase. This actually separates both the this chains or helix, and now what happens, and now on this separated helix, DNA polymerase is an enzyme which actually leads to double stranded DNA depending upon that. So what we do, if this, see like this, if this is opening, if you keep open this helicase, enzyme is acting, and this have you seen a electric wire? Two wires are actually coiled together. They are just like, you can see them as an example of this DNA double helical structure. So if you take the end of the two wires and just try to separate them, what will happen? They will be separated, but this will lead to tight supercoiling or positive overwinding in the lower portion of or the unwounded portion of the wire. They will come even closer. So this is called supercoiling, positive supercoiling. So what is happening? It is opening DNA helicase, and with that the positive supercoiling is getting induced in this particular the DNA portion ahead of this DNA helicase, where actually replication is happening. So same happens. The positive supercoiling is induced ahead of the replication. This is called replication fork. This is a fork-like structure. You can see fork, Y shape. So this is actually, and negative supercoiling is induced in these areas, which is behind this replication process. So you can see we have different enzymes. So this has been shown once. This this double DNA, double helix structure is not shown. It is single structure helix. Like DNA polymerase has actually made double of this thing, but at this single, when they are separated, this molecule is acting. This is RNA polymerase. This actually is unable to actually rotate along with the rotation of these DNA template, because this positive supercoiling has been induced. So this cannot actually rotate along the DNA molecule, and also this template can also not rotate. So that is why this DNA gyrase is required. This actually cut somewhere and remove this supercoiling and reseal it. But once this is bound with the fluoroquinolones, this action is inhibited. So what will happen? This replication will be affected. Effective replication will not happen. And behind the replication, actually there is negative supercoiling is added, and this negative supercoiling actually tries to compensate for some this torsional stress. Positive supercoiling, and that would take some would try to remove this or this torsional stress, would try to reduce this torsional stress that has been induced in the DNA molecule ahead of the replication machinery. So that will also lead to generation of loops, or you can say coiling also in the part of the DNA molecule behind the this thing replication process. So this fluoroquinolones act on this DNA topoisomerase 4 and DNA gyrase, that is topoisomerase 2. These are both. This is a ADP means energy dependent phenomenon. So it will depend upon how frequent means the metabolic status of the bacteria. And this also topoisomerase, both are DNA dependent, energy dependent mechanism. But another DNA topoisomerase, this is energy independent. This can reduce this coiling and all that without requirement of the energy. But these two are the target of the DNA gyrase, fluoroquinolones. This another picture will make you more understand this supercoiling concept and all that. What happens? This is RNA polymerase. This was the actually the DNA structure actually tethered to membrane or to DNA scaffold, so that tangling or interwinding do not occur. They do not get tangled. So keep both the ends free, so that they do not actually get entangled in each other. So this actually this is the fork, because they are being separated. And after that this is making again it is getting double stranded with the help of DNA polymerase and all that. So at its move ahead, so what happens, when I told you, when you hold the two end of the electric wire and just try to separate them, that will induce more and more super positive coiling in this, like in this direction as it is showing. So that actually leads to, ultimately it keeps going, and when there is this coiling is extra increasing. Because of that, actually that leads to formation of positive positive or you can say overwinding. So because of that supercoils, this DNA gyrase actually comes and cut some portion and remove this torsional stress and again reseal it. But that is not possible because of the your availability of this fluoroquinolones, because that inhibits this action. And because there is positive supercoiling, and this stress is actually, this torsional stress behind the replication machinery is actually, I told you, there is negative supercoiling behind it. So that also takes some of this stress to compensate for this positive supercoiling. This negative supercoils, they start actually getting some torsions, and because of that these precatenins are formed. So now this from actually this single chain, it becomes double chain or double helix structure. So they start forming interwinds. Interwinds are called entangle, means they are getting into each. So both the daughter DNA which are formed for going into different cells, there is again they are getting entangled with each other. So that will be, then there it will be difficult for two these DNA to separate to go to different cells. So here is the action of the topoisomerase 4 that actually ensures that they are cut separately and can ensure the transport of these two different DNA material to two different daughter cells. So topoisomerase 4 acts here. That prevents tangling of these two daughter molecules of the DNA actually, which is actually there for two different cells. So here also there is a problem that not allowed, the fluoroquinolone do not allow these torsions to remove, and there they induce torsions actually, so the tangling can happen. So both the enzymes are inhibited, and ultimately that leads to cell death because of a signaling of the there is fault in this DNA molecules and all that leads to activation exonucleases and all that, and cell death. Resistance, if we talk about antibiotics and don't talk about resistance, then the talk is not at all complete. So whenever we talk about any class of antibiotic drugs, antimicrobial, we definitely talk about resistance. How resistance develops, because though they are unicellular organism, these bacterium and all that, but they have very high sophisticated system to save themselves from these environmental pressures or antibiotic pressure and all that, and they can undergo mutation to just to survive and all that. You can understand very well how complicated we are than humans. We have trillions of cells, but they are unicellular organisms. Suppose how much information they have in their nuclei to defend themselves against these outside pressures which are actually threat to their life. So if resistance to a particular fluoroquinolone, even if a single fluoroquinolones has some pathogen has developed a resistance against a particular fluoroquinolone, and that is of high degree, then that may confer cross resistance to all other members also. If it is slight and all thing, then other member may be active against that particular pathogen. But it is of high degree or high level, then it will induce cross resistance to all other members. So this is a negative point, because this should be, if it develops a particular agent, then it should remain confined to that. That is a good thing. But if it gets spread to other members of the class, not only that, in many conditions this actually passes to this resistance becomes or makes other group of antibiotics also ineffective against those bacteria. So this is something which is cause of concern. Usually while we are treating any infection or any pathogen with a particular fluoroquinolones and all that, the chances of mutant or resistant mutant, means the mutation has happened in a particular bacteria and that has become resistant to that particular agent. So they're called resistant mutants. So chances or frequency of development of this emergence of this mutant resistant is 1 in 10 to the power 7 to 10 to the power 9. You can understand in trillions or billions of bacteria one can develop this mutation, but that can be selected. So what will happen, see in this GIF you can see that because of the antibiotic all died but one survived. This is the mutant. Now it will selectively divide and increase the percent, then the antibiotic becomes ineffective against them. So this is called selection pressure. So while treatment and it develops during the treatment with this, and involves usually mutation in the bacterial chromosomal genes that actually code for either DNA gyrase enzyme or topoisomerase. Obviously there would be mutation in these genes to make different proteins, so that the drug cannot effectively block these enzymes, because these are the target of fluoroquinolones. So this is quite logical. So bacteria know that what is to be done, and can also be resistant, can also be imparted by other mechanism like and drug enters the cell, but it is actively transported out of the bacterial cells by efflux pumps and all that. That can also be a cause of resistance also. Plasmid mediated resistance is something which actually these plasmids are chromosomal small circular DNA material, or which carries some genetic information. This plasmid mediated, actually they can transfer horizontal transfer of resistance. So they can transfer from one cell to other also. This can happen. So plasmid mediated coded or plasmid mediated this resistance is less common in fluoroquinolones, and it is because of they actually leads to coding of protective proteins, which actually binds to and prevent these topoisomerases from the action of the or detrimental effect of the fluoroquinolones. So plasmid mediated has also been demonstrated, resistance has also been demonstrated, but this is less common than this bacterial chromosome mutation. And this is a cause of concern that the resistance is increasing in this Pseudomonas and Staphylococcus, very difficult bacteria to handle. So this is a cause of concern because these infections are difficult to handle. If we talk about the pharmacokinetics of these drugs, they have very well absorbed or completely absorbed. Most of the agents are well absorbed from the intestine after oral administration, and can be absorbed up to the 95%. So this is has important bearing on the route of administration and the dosage and all that. And T half is vary from 3 hours to 10 hours or 12 hours maximum. It can go up to 12 hours. And some of them has sufficient half an hour, because they all cause concentration dependent killing. So many of them can be given based on OD dosing, like levofloxacin, moxifloxacin and gemifloxacin, because of their excellent viability and all that, and a good half-life. They can be used in OD dosing regimen. And all these agents are widely distributed in the body, and higher than serum levels can be achieved in certain tissues, for example lungs, kidney and prostate, etc. And not only that, urine and bile and stool, the concentration is much higher. So that is why they are good for GI infection. Bile is there, the GI infection, urinary infection, lung tissues, that is why they are good for respiratory infections. Other than that, they can move to other tissues as well. And not only that, the higher concentration is achieved in neutrophils and macrophages as well. That is also very good. If intracellular, any bacteria and all that can also be taken care of. But if you consider as a group, the quinolones enter the CSF in much better than the many class of antibiotics, and especially when the meninges are inflamed. And in that case, if you consider this p-floxacin has better penetrability than many other fluoroquinolones, it can enter up to the 50% of it can enter into the CSF. Concentration can be achieved up to 50%, and but less with this ciprofloxacin, etc., 20 to 30%. But despite this, you must be knowing that ciprofloxacin is a very good agent for preventing or eradicating the meningococcal carrier states. Single dose of this ciprofloxacin can do that. So p-floxacin has better penetrability than many other fluoroquinolones. But these drugs suffers, they have problem in absorption once they are administered with divalent or trivalent cations like calcium, magnesium, iron or aluminum, etc., which are usually present in the antacid, etc., and they can be present in the food and all that. So this can have impact on the overall bioavailability of the agents, these fluoroquinolones. So they should be avoided. Concomitant administration should be avoided, and there should be that at least sufficient time should be there between the administration of these two agents. At least 2 to 4 hours should be there. Many, these drugs, these fluoroquinolones achieves this similar serum concentration. You can say the plasma concentrations are similar if once you give administer them either through oral route or through the intravenous route in the same doses, and they achieve same serum concentration. And this is quite common with this levofloxacin or moxifloxacin, gemifloxacin, etc. And food may delay the time to peak serum concentration. Yes, obviously, because food may have some this trivalent, so it may delay the time to peak serum concentration. Maybe delay the time, may reduce the peak, quite possible, but the overall viability may or may not be affected, extent of the viability, but definitely delay the time to peak serum concentration. And they, because of their extended viability, many of them are actually present in the breast milk, and they are present in sufficient concentration that can substantially affect the substantial exposure can occur in nursing infants. So they should be usually avoided during nursing or lactation. Most especially this levofloxacin, ofloxacin and ciprofloxacin, these are the drugs which can be available in the human breast milk. Most frequent fluoroquinolones are eliminated by renal mechanism, means they are eliminated through renal route. That is why they are very good agent for UTI and all that, because high concentrations are achieved in the renal tissues as well as in the urine. So they need to be their dose needs to be adjusted if patient has renal insufficiency and all that. But to what extent the doses are to be reduced will depend upon the how much renal impairment, to what extent renal functions are compromised, or which particular fluoroquinolones are being utilized. And but that is why they are very good for UTI and all that. But moxifloxacin is one exception, which is actually metabolized in the liver, and that is that is why it is not approved for UTI, because it does not achieve sufficient concentration in the kidney and urine. So, but if there is patient is having hepatic failure and all that, in that case the caution is required, and when you are using moxifloxacin. Not only that, there are other this p-floxacin is also has some it has been seen that its dose need not be adjusted if there is renal impairment and all that. But if patient is elderly and there is liver dysfunction, there might be requirement for the dosage adjustment. And one of the agent like gemifloxacin, I think, that has partly liver metabolism also. These are the agents which are actually present in the US. If I told you, many of the textbook actually gives account of those drugs which are actually available in the US and all that. But the norfloxacin is discontinued in US. And I think I searched about this. This is no longer available in US, norfloxacin. But these all agents, ciprofloxacin, gemifloxacin, levomoxi and ofloxacin, all are available. Not only p-floxacin is also not available in. So you can see these are the half-lives. Your oral viability, I told you the viability may be up to 95%, because levo and ofloxacin very good viability, and this ciprofloxacin 70%. And these are the usual doses. It could be more, even 750 milligram BD also, but it may be that in and this is gemifloxacin. This is somehow have partly also non-renal route of excretion as well. But this moxifloxacin is metabolized in the liver by process of glucuronidation and sulfation, right? So little bit of important highlighting points for each, and not all, some of these antibiotic fluoroquinolones. This norfloxacin has similar gram negative activity against means similar action against gram negative organism similar to ciprofloxacin, but it is little less potent than ciprofloxacin. And because this norfloxacin, the problem is that it does not achieve sufficient systemic concentration which can be active against, the can be therapeutic in different bacterial infection. But the concentration that are achieved in UTI, urine and GI are sufficient enough to have therapeutic action. That is why use is restricted to the UTIs and GI infection. That is why I said Norflex TZ you get available in India. The Norflox is because somebody is having loose motion and all that, people give against Entamoeba histolytica plus gram negative bacilli. So maybe it has sufficient unabsorbed portion. It's I think viability is around 80%. Maybe that 20% is sufficient to kill GI bacteria and all that, and can be effective in GI infection and UTI, because very good concentration is achieved in the urine, so it could be useful in UTI. Ciprofloxacin available as oral and as well as IV, because it is from class 2A. As I said, they have some action against, it has action against Pseudomonas, gram negative, mostly gram negative agents and some atypical agents and all that. But it is available as both oral and as IV, and because of its half-life, maybe 5 to 7 hours hardly, I think it is to be dosed twice daily, every 12 hours. So doses should range, if you give orally, from 250 milligram to 750 milligram BID, and if you give orally, so 200 to 400 milligram BID every 12 hours, right? IV if you give. But there is also a preparation available that is called the dose should not exceed 1.5 gram per day for oral. Extended release ciprofloxacin, this was the molecule, this actually particular formulation was developed by Ranbaxy India, but that has been actually sold to Bayer. That is a company which, international company, which bought this patent rights of this particular formulation, and which is available in the strength of 500 milligram and 1000 milligram. That is to be given only once daily, and usually after the evening meal. This is the time usually it is to be given, after evening meal, right? Ofloxacin and levofloxacin have good gram positive activity, but this levofloxacin, as it is one generation ahead of ofloxacin, though it is a levoisomer of ofloxacin, and this has supposed to have 4 times more activity than ofloxacin. So gram positive activity is fine, both, but levofloxacin is better activity against anti-streptococcal activity. That is actually less with 2B agent, but this levofloxacin is active against both penicillin sensitive and penicillin resistant streptococcal activity against Streptococcus pneumoniae. So this is the advantage of levofloxacin over ofloxacin. And but both the agent, because they have both almost more than 95% of oral viability, so IV and oral doses are usually the same. The levofloxacin dose can vary and can be given once daily, once they are dosed once daily basis, on the once daily basis. So levofloxacin can be given in the dose of 250 to 750 milligram OD, but this ofloxacin is usually 200 to 400 milligram OD that can be given. So they have very good this thing. Sorry, this ofloxacin is given twice daily, 200 to 4 milligram, right? But levofloxacin can be dosed once daily, that is in the dose of 250 to 750 milligram per day. Moxifloxacin, if you consider it with the levofloxacin, it has better gram positive activity in the sense that the MIC that is required for inhibition of Streptococcus pneumoniae is much lower for moxifloxacin in comparison to levofloxacin, and it has also enhanced the activity of the levofloxacin means has better activity against anaerobes, expanded activity against anaerobe, and but though it is less active than levofloxacin or ciprofloxacin against P. aeruginasa, that is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. If somebody asks which fluoroquinolones have good activity against Pseudomonas aeruginosa, is the ciprofloxacin and this levofloxacin. And as I said, this moxifloxacin has also a good oral viability and all that. So IV oral doses are equivalent, can be given on once daily basis. I think half-life is around 10 hours or something, and the dose is 400 milligram every day. And it undergoes hepatic metabolism. I told you simply that is why it is sufficient concentrations are not achieved in urine. So it has not been approved for UTIs and all that, but it undergoes hepatic metabolism by sulfation and glucuronidation, and this drug is the dosage are not to be altered or adjusted in case of renal insufficiency, but patient with hepatic impairment, one has to take care of or should exercise caution while prescribing this drug in those patients. Gemifloxacin shares all the features of this moxifloxacin, but is this is good against anaerobes and all that, but this loses activity. All the spectrum is same, but less active against Bacteroides fragilis, which is an anaerobe actually, and it is poorly active against Pseudomonas. This is important. So that is why I said if Pseudomonas, you need to choose any fluoroquinolones, choose ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin. Got my point? And the getifloxacin, I said it is not available in US, but in India and some other countries this is banned for systemic use, not used in systemic infection, but it is limited to ophthalmic use where conjunctivitis due to gram-negative organism and all that. So bacterial conjunctivitis is the use which is still valid for this getifloxacin and all that. So let us talk about the clinical uses of these antibiotics, these fluoroquinolones. So as I said, they are very good agent for UTIs and all that. Though this nalidixic acid was also effective in UTIs against the susceptible pathogens and all that, but this fluoroquinolone, with the advent of this better drugs, fluoroquinolones, they are considered as the very potent and forms the mainstay of treatment in upper and lower urinary tract infections, and they have been found to be very more efficacious than many other agents like usually we use trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole or many oral beta-lactam antibiotics which are let it be cephalosporin or from penicillin group. They are effective against UTI, but they are more efficacious than those agents. But these agents have broader spectrum of activity. That is why the new guidelines are suggesting that you should restrict the use of these antibiotics, or should reserve them for special cases of UTIs. When whenever possible, you use them in those situations. For example, a patient has complicated cystitis or patient has pyelonephritis, etc. So it will so duration of treatment may vary. For example, in case of uncomplicated cystitis, 3 days treatment is sufficient, or if or you can give it for 5 to 7 days in case of pyelonephritis and all that. So these drugs should not be used injudiciously, because the resistance is gradually increasing. That is the reason why the new guidelines are suggesting that use them only when they are necessary. STDs, that is sexually transmitted disease, though these drugs lack activity for Treponema pallidum, which is a causative agent in syphilis and all that. So for that, penicillins are very good choice. But the disease caused by this atypical agents like chlamydia, agents leading to urethritis or cervicitis, A 7-day course with ofloxacin or levofloxacin is considered as a very effective alternative to 7 days treatment with either doxycycline or the single dose treatment with azithromycin. But other fluoroquinolones are not reliably effective against this chlamydial infection, urethritis and cervicitis. This ofloxacin and levofloxacin should be trusted upon. Moreover, this drug, this fluoroquinolones or ciprofloxacin was very good or very active against susceptible or sensitive strain of Neisseria gonorrhoeae for gonococcal infection, but because of increasing resistance among this Neisseria gonococci against ciprofloxacin and all that now ceftriaxone is being considered as first line agent for gonococcal infection. But for chancroid, ciprofloxacin is the drug of choice. You can say it's highly effective. That is caused by Haemophilus ducreyi, and a 3-day course of ciprofloxacin is very effective in this sexually transmitted disease that is called chancroid. GI infection, they are good for GI infection as well. Traveler's diarrhea, you can use any of the this levofloxacin, ofloxacin or ciprofloxacin for traveler's diarrhea. Usually 1 to 3 day treatment of with these fluoroquinolones can reduce the duration of diarrhea by 1 to 3 days. And moreover, even a single dose of ciprofloxacin can prevent the traveler's diarrhea also. That is also well established. And if there is intra-abdominal infection, you can use these agents, levofloxacin, ofloxacin or ciprofloxacin, with an agent which has good activities against anaerobic infection, and that is metronidazole. It can be used in intra-abdominal infection use. But you should be sure that the infection caused by enterococci is not because of enterococci. Otherwise, these drugs are not having good activity against enterococcus. So you should rule out that it is not likely pathogen is not enterococcus. Then it is with metronidazole, it is a good choice for intra-abdominal infection. And moxifloxacin, it has good coverage against anaerobes, all that. So moxifloxacin has been used as monotherapy in complicated intra-abdominal infection, and its efficacy is very similar to piperacillin and tazobactam. In fact, this has been compared and can be used in monotherapy, but concern has been raised that Bacteroides fragilis, which is a it is a Bacteroides fragilis is an anaerobe which is actually the resistance is gradually increasing against moxifloxacin. So this is a cause of concern as well. Respiratory tract infection, as I said, these drugs achieves higher concentration than the serum in the lung tissues and all that, so they are good for respiratory tract infection. And many of these agents like levofloxacin, moxifloxacin, gemifloxacin, they have excellent activity against many agents which are involved in causing community acquired pneumonia. For example, H. influenzae, Streptococcus pneumoniae, and chlamydia, mycoplasma, or what is that other chlamydia, mycoplasma, legionella, etc. So they are have excellent activity in community acquired pneumonia and being used in the treatment of community acquired pneumonia. And other than other upper respiratory tract infection like sinusitis, etc., they are the good choice, and they can also be used to tackle the mild to moderate respiratory exacerbations, especially in cystic fibrosis patient due to Pseudomonas. In such cases, ciprofloxacin or levofloxacin can be used because Pseudomonas, these two are active against Pseudomonas. So only for mild to moderate. These drugs are also good for exacerbation in COPD patient and all that. And levofloxacin is also present available as inhalational in nebulized form. It has 240 milligram, one ampoule containing 240 milligram, which can be given as a 5-minute inhalation in 2 times in a day. In patient with cystic fibrosis, we have chronic pulmonary infection, and this is actually used as 28-day treatment followed by 28 days of off period, no treatment during the next 28 days. So 4 weeks of treatment, 4 weeks of gap, 4 weeks of treatment, 4 weeks of gap. So this inhalational levofloxacin or nebulized levofloxacin is available for cystic fibrosis patient to tackle chronic pulmonary infection. Bone, joint and soft tissue infection, as I said, these drugs are has very wide distribution and achieve good concentration in many tissues and body fluids. So it can be used in chronic osteomyelitis, although the therapy is used for 4 to 6 weeks, but can require even longer than that. And usually it is therapy with any of the agent which is active against Staph aureus or gram-negative rods. And but failure of therapy can happen, especially when Staph aureus develops resistance during the treatment. This has been seen. Staph aureus, so therapy can failure can also happen because of the development of resistance in therapy. And this fluoroquinolones, any of the fluoroquinolones, if added to rifampicin, this is a good combination. In combination with rifampicin, this drug actually, this combination not only prevent resistance against fluoroquinolones but also enhances the cure rate, especially when used in cases of early prosthetic joint infections. This rifampicin has very good quality that it can penetrate biofilm. This is used in endocarditis and all that. Rifampicin prevents also good for preventing resistance against this other its co-partner and all that. So rifampicin is good. So prosthetic joint inflammation is a foreign surface, so most likely chances is that biofilm and all that. So this penetration, it enhances the penetration of the co-partner through this biofilm and all that. So rifampicin is good in that sense. And in patient who have diabetic foot infection, so it will be a reasonable choice to combine fluoroquinolone antibiotic with any agent which has good anaerobic activity, because it has been seen the population of bacteria that actually involved in causing infection of the diabetic foot are many of them are anaerobic also, so we need to cover anaerobic agent as well. And this prostatitis, actually when I was talking about sulfonamide, this trimethoprim sulfomethazole is very good for prostatitis, because this trimethoprim is a weak base, and this prostate fluid or vaginal fluid actually have pH in the range of acidic range is compared to plasma and all that. So these drugs get concentrated in because of the ionization and all that in these fluids, vaginal fluids or prostate fluids. So trimethoprim sulfomethazole was a very good treatment for prostatitis. If patient is not responding to trimethoprim or sulfomethazole, so one can use this ciprofloxacin, levofloxacin, ofloxacin, norfloxacin. Here norfloxacin can be used because norfloxacin achieves good concentration in genitourinary area, not systemic infection, but prostatitis it can achieve good, can have good effect. So norfloxacin can be used in prostatitis, but longer treatment is required, 4 to 6 weeks of treatment if there is no response to trimethoprim or sulfomethazole. And empiric therapy, I have discussed about empiric therapy in first 2 introductory classes on clinical pharmacology of antimicrobial agent. What is empiric therapy, how it should be used, how selection can be made, how it can be made more effective, what is the basis for using it, how you can avoid resistance and all that. Many things I discussed. If you go through those 2 lectures on the special classes, I think most of your doubt and confusions will go away. So it needs to be used. Febrile neutropenia actually requires empirical therapy, because in hardly in 1/3 of the cases any pathogen have been demonstrated or identified on culture and all that. So empiric therapy becomes very important in case of cancer chemotherapy induced febrile episodes in patient of neutropenia. And if it is severe, we have to use ciprofloxacin. That is one of the empiric antibiotic in case of febrile neutropenia. So that can be used in doses of IV ciprofloxacin 400 milligram thrice daily. Otherwise, this you can see that that is to be used thrice daily because it is a serious situation. So in severe cases, thrice daily, every 8 hourly for 7 to 14 days, maybe treatment may be required. Ciprofloxacin is the drug of choice for anthrax. It has been approved for both treatment as well as prevention of anthrax, Bacillus anthracis, which is anaerobic bacteria. And this anthrax has always been this anthrax bacteria has always been a threat to be used as a bioweapon against the mankind and all that. So this is quite possible. So this is ciprofloxacin is active against anthrax, drug of choice, and also in prevention and treatment. But levofloxacin has also been approved for prevention of anthrax in US, I think. And plague is the infection which is called different type of plague, pneumonic plague, bubonic plague, or so that can be treated with these drugs, levofloxacin, ciprofloxacin, caused by Yersinia pestis, or I think Pasteurella pestis is also an alternative name for this, Yersinia pestis or Pasteurella pestis. Gram-negative septicemia, yes, these drugs have very good activity against gram-negative organisms. So other parenteral ciprofloxacin, which is ciprofloxacin, has very good activity against most of the gram-negative agent. Combined with third generation cephalosporins, third generation cephalosporins have a good coverage against gram negatives, but fourth generation have or much better. They are active against also Pseudomonas. But third generation you have ceftazidime, which is active against Pseudomonas, and aminoglycoside. They are also known to have good activity against gram negative only. Hardly has any activity against anaerobes or gram positive. So this is a good combination that you give parenteral ciprofloxacin with third generation cephalosporins or an aminoglycoside. So this is a reasonable choice or a rational combination in case of gram negative septicemia, which is a life threatening situation. Typhoid, we know this ciprofloxacin was considered as many of the fluoroquinolones are considered as the first choice drugs in treatment of typhoid nowadays, but because the resistance is increasing in Salmonella typhi against these agents, so now ceftriaxone or the cefotaxime and cefparazones are considered as alternative treatment, should be treated with these drugs. Ocular infection, many of these agents are active in bacterial conjunctivitis caused by gram negative agents, and moreover this levofloxacin and ofloxacin are good for treatment of tularemia. They are effective in tularensis. Some bacteria is there which causes tularemia. And moxifloxacin, as I said, is not approved for the use in UTI because it does not achieve good concentration in the urine to act upon the common pathogens, but it has good activities against anaerobes and all that. This moxifloxacin is a component of regimen that is being used against multi-drug resistance tuberculosis. And not only that, this moxifloxacin is active against also atypical mycobacteria also. So many infection caused by this atypical mycobacterial agent can be handled with moxifloxacin. And the MAC infection, the Mycobacterium avium complex infection in patient HIV positive patient who have developed AIDS. So moxifloxacin has these uses as well in mycobacterial infections. These drugs are considered as safe, well tolerated, but no drug is devoid of any side effects. Some has more, some has high and has less, and it is the clinical acumen of the prescriber, and considering this risk benefit ratio, this is the basis for selecting any treatment for any particular clinical entity, that risk benefit ratio should always fall in the favor of benefit. So this is how any treatment can be, one drug may not be suitable for one agent for with one particular clinical entity, but can be used in other clinical entity. It depends upon whether that clinical entity is the severity of that particular caused by the same bacteria and all that, but a drug is effective in both cases. But considering the toxicity of that drug, the one patient had milder infection, another having serious infection. So in that cases, the risk benefit ratio will differ for both the patients. It is not the same for each. The drug risk benefit ratio is decided for each individual patient, actually. So gastrointestinal side effects are most common side effects that are encountered with the use of fluoroquinolone antibiotics, and this is in the form of mild nausea, vomiting, abdominal discomfort. This can be experienced by up to 20% of the patients. So these problems are considered as the most important adverse effect. And also the use of this fluoroquinolone antibiotics are as considered as one of the important group antibiotics which are resulting in Clostridium difficile colitis. So this is also a dangerous situation if it develops pseudomembranous colitis. So this is something which because of their good effect on the gastrointestinal bacteria and all that. So this is to be kept in mind. And neurological side effects do occur, but with lesser frequency than the gastrointestinal effect. So they are actually in the form of mild headache, dizziness, and very rarely hallucination, delirium, and the seizures. Seizures are little. So it is they are supposed not to be used in individual who have history of epilepsy and all that. And this seizures is mainly because of it is said that there may be interference with the activity of the GABA, and usually the agent would have substituent on the 7th position of the specific substituent on the 7th position, GABA like substituent. On the second there were 2 rings, so 6th, 7th this thing, if GABA like substituents are there in the chain, second ring, that can actually, those compound can act as antagonist of the GABA receptors. So that could be the reason for the seizures encountered with many of the agent that are that belong to fluoroquinolone class. And also as I said, this should be avoided in patient with history of epilepsy, and also these chances of seizures are higher in patient who are concurrently receiving theophylline or NSAID treatment. NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Also rarely the incidence of peripheral neuropathy has been encountered, which sometimes can be irreversible neuropathy. So this is also really a cause of concern. This has been reported with this fluoroquinolones. Musculoskeletal side effects, yes, they do cause certain side effects like arthralgias and joint pains, etc. But this tendon rupture and tendinitis has been actually seen, especially involving Achilles tendon. Tendinitis or tendon rupture, and it is more common in individuals who are elderly, that is more than 60 years of age, receiving glucocorticoids or steroid therapy, glucocorticoids, or those who have undergone solid organ transplant, or those who have renal insufficiency. So these kind of patients who are more susceptible to develop this tendinitis or tendon rupture, especially of Achilles tendon. And This is something which is also was considered to be very alarming initially, because the certain animal studies have shown that it can lead to articular cartilage damage and malformations. But later human studies did not show this kind of risk, in risk in children or the offsprings of the women who used this fluoroquinolones during the pregnancy. So but for the sake of just for the safety, this is to be avoided in the children, which is the common notion that should not be used in children less than 18 years of age. But now it has been being realized that this can be used in children, and if needed, for example, in patient with pseudomonas infection, in cystic fibrosis and all that. So this risk maybe is not that much, because later the human studies have discarded or negated this kind of apprehension among scientific community. And usually avoided in pregnancy, it's a category C drug. I said usually avoided in pregnancy, but category C drugs, most of the drugs fall in this category, and this is the risk benefit analysis. It will depend whether using it is a better preposition, or not using it would be a more favorable for the patient. So other risk, if you look at this, there is a risk of QT prolongation, this QT interval prolongation, that is especially with moxifloxacin, though it is a promising agent in this class of drug, group of antibiotic. And QT prolongation, and this is more common with and can even lead to this arrhythmia like Torsades point is with moxifloxacin, but rare. And this gemifloxacin, levofloxacin, ofloxacin has risk, but lesser than moxifloxacin. And if you consider them, so then ciprofloxacin is the safest or least risk, has the least risk, though risk is there, but least risk. That is why, but overall if you see this fluoroquinolones, the risk of this torsades, this point is arrhythmia is rare otherwise. And this is the reason why these agents should be avoided in uncorrected hypokalemia, because they can increase the risk of this QT prolongation and all that. And other than this, gatifloxacin, which is banned for systemic use, that had a problem of dysglycemia, because they can cause both hypo and hyperglycemia, especially in individual elderly. That is why this drug has been withdrawn for and not being used in systemic infections, but its topical application is still there in the clinical practice. They may cause rashes, photosensitivity. I said this is quite common, and this. So those who have prolonged exposure to sun exposure and etc., they are advised to cover their exposed part with the clothes, or if it's possible to apply sunscreens and all that, to avoid risk of the sensitivity, photosensitivity, etc. Drug interactions, I already discussed that they can form complexes with divalent and trivalent cations, for example iron or calcium or aluminum, etc. So that is why these are if these drugs should not be given patient taking iron supplement or calcium supplement, or using antacids, etc., because they may contain all kind of this magnesium, etc. So they might affect bioavailability of these drugs. They can form complexes with them. So they should be either given 2 hours before, or at least 2 to 4 hours of gap should be maintained between these in administration of these two group of agents. Ciprofloxacin does inhibit metabolism of theophylline to some extent, and that can lead to increase in the concentration, serum concentration of theophylline. And theophylline is a narrow therapeutic index drug, means that is the DRC of the therapeutic effect and DRC of the adverse effect is very close. So the toxic dose and therapeutic dose, the difference is less, so it is the chances that it may precipitate toxicity. NSAIDs may enhance neurological effects. As I said, these NSAIDs have tendency to prevent binding of or displace GABA from its binding sites on the GABA receptors, so that can lead to or can enhance the seizure potential of these fluoroquinolones antibiotic. And these drugs, these fluoroquinolones should not be combined with class 1A or class 3 antiarrhythmic agent, because these class of antiarrhythmic agent has tendency to increase QT prolongation, cause prolongation of the QT interval. And those who have already QT prolongation syndrome, long QT syndrome right from the birth, such patients should not be given this fluoroquinolone antibiotics and all that. So the class 1 agents are usually the procainamide and quinidine should be avoided. Class 3 agents like amiodarone, sotalol or ibutalide, etc., they should be avoided because they have a tendency to increase QT interval, so that may have additive effect with these agents. Avoid concurrent use of the erythromycin antibiotics and tricyclic antidepressant, because these are the drugs not from antiarrhythmic class, but these drugs also have tendency to increase QT interval. So one should try not giving these drugs concomitantly with fluoroquinolones and all that. So probability or possibility of this drug interaction should always be kept in mind. They are limited, but you should always have this in your mind, because though these drugs are very, very important in certain infection, but irrational prescribing or irrational use or not knowing these facts about these drugs may not only affect the efficacy but may also enhance the toxicity of these agents. So this was all about fluoroquinolone antibiotics, which are a very important group of antibiotics, very commonly used in individuals, but I would suggest you or request you to use it sensibly. Don't not only these agents, antibiotics, we have a scarcity of good antibiotic agent. Because of that, there are emergence of superbugs which are very difficult to handle with even the drugs which have broadest spectrum of activity and all that. So it is our duty to use them sensibly, so that their lifetime is prolonged and infections can be controlled effectively. And as already I would like to make familiar with the fact that the pipeline means the drugs which are under development for as anti-infective are very few, because there is no return on investment because of the certain reason. You watch those two lessons on special classes, you will come to know why all these problems are there with antibiotic development. Companies are more interested in developing drugs for endocrinology disorders, CVS disorder, CNS disorder, because they have long life. Once it is one antihypertensive has been found that can be used for years together, one insulin is made that can be used for years together, for lifetime and all that. But in antibiotics, first of all, they have limited use, that is to be used for 5 days, 7 days, like that. And if resistance develops, that goes out of use also. So, and if cost is there, then many hospital policies or government policies are there that the cheaper one should be used and all that. So that is why the company or these pharmaceutical firms do not find it as a attractive proposition for developing an antibiotic against infectious agent and all that, because return on investment is not exorbitant, and that is why this is considered as a very non-viable option for them. Guys, I'm again reminding you about this Telegram app. You all should have this, and not only having this is not enough, you have to join this group on this app. so that you get all the information regarding classes. That can be information may be shared by this Unacademy guys, or the educators. They give information, provide information about their classes on different platform on this group, in this group. So you can always have this information beforehand, so you can always take out time to watch important topic which you are willing to have difficulty in learning, understanding and all that. Or suppose you have your any favorite educator, you don't want to miss any class of that person or particular educator, so that is also your choice. So if you have information beforehand, you can always plan your activity and can spare some time from your tight schedule to watch that particular class or educator. Guys, if you are not aware of this learning app, just I'm reminding you, this you can download from either Play Store or the Apple Store. This is Unacademy Learning Web, where you have another platform where you can attend free classes in the form of special classes. These are also absolutely free. These classes are really this once you land up on this platform, this particular platform, learning app, it will give you first of all a different feel. And these special classes are unique in the sense that here you get an opportunity to interact with educator. This educator interaction is must. So you have this opportunity to interact with the educator. And also this gives you or sensitize you about how this paid portal, that is NEET PG Plus, will look like, because that is considered as a big brother of this special classes, where you have host of different or other additional facilities. That is why that is on paid, available on paid basis. And not only that, this special classes also this offers you one other opportunity, or that if you follow a particular educator, then you can send him personal message related to any your query related to class related, not other things. You cannot share any media content or something like that, multimedia and all that. You can always raise your query related to class, any particular. So it is duty of the educator to come back and resolve your issues and all that. So this two different facilities you are getting absolutely free on these special classes. So what are you waiting for, guys? Just go and get it and start enjoying these special classes, because I am available on special classes also. And that is why I'm saying, because I will be taking this antimicrobial agents both on special classes platform as well as NEET PG Live Daily. So you have to have this also, because there should not be any break in the the information I am delivering to you. But other than this free classes, the Unacademy has paid services also, where that provide certain premium features, but that is available on a subscription basis, and it is for those individuals who want something more than this, and wants to make sure that they get everything what is necessary to crack an exam. And for them, this NEET PG Plus is the solution for them, or is an alternative for them. They can always join. The subscription is open for whole year. So if you really keen and interested in your selection in forthcoming PG exams and all that, then you should try NEET PG Plus as well, because though it is a paid service, but it is the amount is not too hefty. It is notional charges, which I think everybody will charge, because anyways this also providing the services which are not available elsewhere. So this is a well justified thing. And the subscription is available for 12 months and 24 months. I have already explained that who will be best benefited or most benefited with 24-month subscription, and 12-month subscription is the least which one should always go for, because this is the time, this much time actually is required for coverage of the entire syllabus, to get acquainted with the all the experts in the different subjects, and the attending all the special courses which are hosted by these educators on this platform, all this. So this 12 months subscription is necessary, I suppose. And if you apply this, use my referral code while applying for subscription of this NEET PG Plus, you will get 10% discount. And this 10% discount, if you apply, you for 12 months subscription, the amount becomes hardly 20,000, which is I suppose is nothing and should not be an issue for those who are really interested and keen in for their very interested and really keen in getting a seat in PG entrance and all that. And not only that, keen in the sense that they are working hard, they are doing day and night, they are doing hard work to get a good rank and good college with the subject of their choice, etc. And after application of this 10% discount, those who opt for 24-month subscription, it's hardly 25,000. So it is not a bad negotiation, bad deal. This is really quite affordable. It's not something which one cannot afford for entire course and all that. So this much is I would suggest that this is a valid subscription fees. And you can pay by different modes, depending upon your convenience and all that. So I would again ask you to use my referral code if you really like my classes and all that. I am also available on Plus platform as well. So I'm now going to start a new course on this Plus platform that is related to CNS. If it gets approved, it will be started soon. Maybe if it gets approved within a week, I think from 18th I'll start. So those who are interested then can always enroll and come and join, can come on this paid platform. So please use this code, because this improves my ranking also in Unacademy platform. So, and also this 10% is just a kind of incentive for those who actually join this NEET PG Plus. But ultimately the call is yours, but the features which this NEET PG Plus offers, that you will not get anywhere else, which I have explained to you each and everything advantage of this subscription, because what kind of attention you get, how we can address your negative weak areas, how you can have a good quality test course material, how you can clear your doubts. You have dedicated this thing. Offline access is at first class, and you this is a kind of one-stop solution. You don't have to run from one platform to other and all that. This is something which offers everything what a learner actually expect from a learning platform. And it is to tell you that this Unacademy platform is the #1 learning platform of the India at this point of time. So be part of this Unacademy team. And this anyways, you all are on this. Those who are watching are already have subscribed to this NEET PG Live Daily, but would request you guys to also spread this to others also, so that they can also subscribe and join. And you can even in fact you can share link with them, and so that they can also be part of this NEET PG Live Daily sessions. And if you have liked my lectures, you give me a thumbs up, because that actually also counts to my this thing rating and all that. And keep sharing, because share is care. So not only keep this information to up to you can you share this link of this live session with your friends and all that. And this is always in benefit of all of you. So with that, I say that the topic has already been covered with all details, and if you have any issues, as I said, you come on this special class platform and you can always share any message with me, and I would be more than happy to answer those queries. So with this, this is time to say I would take your leave, and it's time to say bye to you. Okay, good night, and thank you for attending the class.